In this video, I'm going to be analysing Kat Held's behaviour during an incident in Season 2 of Below Deck. You can't determine if somebody's a narcissist from a single incident. There could be a number of reasons explaining their poor behaviour. Instead, we need to establish that they show a consistent pattern of key behaviours over a period of time. In Kat's case, we have 2 whole seasons of her actions that we can use in order to establish that she is a narcissist. The key behaviours we look for are shown by the acronym ENDGAME: Entitlement, no boundaries, dynamic of narcissism, which includes a whole cluster of different behaviours that narcissists exhibit, such as black and white thinking, grandiosity or haughtiness, this one isn't applicable to all narcissists, accountability lacking, manipulative, and empathy lacking. Kat has consistently shown these behaviours. In Below Deck, Kat serves as a stewardess on a luxury yacht. At the start of the season, it turned out that she already knew another one of the stewardesses, Amy, from when they previously worked together. Something clearly happened between them, and both of them are quite tense when asked about it.
Actually, I would like to hear about how y'all know each other. You two.
Kat and I worked on a boat together.
Where?
We met in Aruba. Yeah. But it was nice. Yeah.
Can you make that story a little bit longer with a little bit more detail?
Yeah.
Me and Amy hit it off right away. We could talk about anything.
Good times.
Good times.
Now we skip forward to when the crew is on charter. Kat is taking the charter guests from the yacht to a beach bar. Unfortunately for her, the guests are meeting up with a friend of theirs who happens to be Kat's previous boss, Adrian. Now, Kat and Adrian don't get on with each other.
Is your girlfriend supposed to be here?
Yeah, I have a friend that I was supposed to meet, but I don't know if she's here.
Compass! Compass! Come on.
Oh, there you are!
Hey. Adrian! Nice to meet you. How are you?
Oh my god.
How you doing, honey?
You're f***ing kidding me. Who's there waiting? The devil.
I need you to be working right now.
Oh,
Come here now. I know that you had alcohol in your room last night.
Okay.
I want her out of here. Sarcasm and bullshit. Can we just cut it out? Because I'm your boss.
This is a very cruel joke from the universe.
Absolutely. How you doing?
Good. I wish I was in your shoes.
Yeah, exactly. It's about time, right? Painkillers?
Yeah, ready?
Oh, if I could only have a drink.
Now, narcissists always need to feel like they're in control. Adrian turning up is a big threat to Kat's control, and Kat needs to regain control of the situation. How do narcissists do this? They manipulate. Kat pulls the primary charter guest aside and begins manipulating her.
I just wanted to ask you, is it a coincidence or did you invite her?
I invited her.
Oh, okay. Are you inviting them back to the boat?
I was inviting just Adrian.
Oh, just
possibly for
Adrian.
dinner. Yeah, not her friends.
Oh, okay.
If you've seen Below Deck before, you'll know that the crew has to treat charter guests with the utmost respect and politeness. Interrogating the primary charter guest like this is a huge boundary transgression, stroppily demanding, "I just wanted to ask you, is it a coincidence or did you invite her?" And then quizzing the primary if she's inviting Adrian back to the boat. When Kat hears that Adrian is coming back to the boat, this threatens her control again, and she launches into a manipulation.
Oh, just
Possibly for
Adrian.
dinner. Yeah, not her friends.
Oh, okay. It's kind of a slap in the face for me because it's kind of like, why don't you go ahead and serve your chief stewardess that was really mean to you?
Kat manipulates with a pity play, trying to make the primary charter guest feel sorry for her having to serve the supposedly mean Adrian. This is also attempting to make the guest feel guilty. These manipulations could potentially persuade the primary not to invite Adrian for dinner. This also shows an element of the narcissistic dynamic, smearing. Sometimes it's not possible or practical for the narcissist to assert control directly over somebody who's threatening their control. In this case, I'm sure Kat would like nothing more than to run up to Adrian and smack her in the chops. Some less evolved narcissists would actually do this, as you can see happening in public freakout videos. However, Kat can't do this because it would damage her facade of being a good, caring person. Instead, she smears Adrian, attempting to make her look bad by saying how mean she is. This allows Kat to feel like she has control over Adrienne indirectly. Kat also shows her sense of entitlement in believing she shouldn't have to do her job and serve somebody who the charter guests have invited for dinner. She's also generally acting in a stroppy, haughty manner.
Adrienne's coming back to the boat because of Beverly. So now I want to stab both of them.
This is a nice insight into the kind of thoughts that are going through a narcissist's mind when they experience a threat to their control.
I'm excited about dinner tonight. Instead of serving it, I get to eat it, so.
Serving Adrienne makes me want to vomit in her face.
Unfortunately for Kat, this threat to her control is going to get even worse.
Hey, Kat, did you say you used to work with Amy?
Where?
She met us in Aruba, and we just did the Caribbean.
Oh, awesome. I heard something about the two of them.
Oh, do Kat and Amy not get along?
That's what I heard, yeah. I mean, our industry is very small.
Were they a couple? Is it another lesbian chameleon thing? And when do we get a scissor? Did she hook up with her brother?
No.
What?
But it's along those lines. Kat and Amy were working on a boat together, and Amy had some wisdom teeth taken out, and so she was really sick, and she was kind of under the weather, and this guy that she really liked came over to visit her, and Kat ended up blowing him in the next room, and the girl caught him.
No.
Well, she did it to save her teeth.
Now we get the scoop on what might have happened between Kat and Amy. If this is true, it shows a sense of entitlement, a boundary transgression, a lack of empathy for Amy, a lack of accountability, and hypersexualized behavior, an element of the narcissistic dynamic. Now Kat finds out about this rumor.
So Adrienne just told us how you and Amy have beef because you sucked one of her boyfriend's.
What the hell is this?
Finding out that she's been smeared behind her back is going to cause a big problem for Kat. Narcissists seek two things above everything else: control and fuel, also known as supply. Fuel is the emotional output of others towards a narcissist. It makes narcissists feel powerful and important. Now, if Amy had come up to Kat crying and screaming, "You noshed off my man, you trollop," that would threaten Kat's control, which is bad, but at the same time, Amy would be giving Kat a large dose of fuel. Kat, knowing that she has the ability to cause such pain and hurt in Amy, would make her feel powerful. She'd feel pumped up and full of power, ready to argue back at Amy and reassert control. However, here Kat is just hearing that others have heard a rumor about her, which threatens her control, but without giving her any fuel. This causes what's known as wounding or narcissistic injury. The narcissist feels weak, deflated, powerless, vulnerable. This is a very important aspect of narcissism. If you're interested, I recommend reading the books Fuel and Fury by H.G. Tudor, which explain it in great detail. H.G. is a self-aware narcissist, and to hear in his own words what fuel and wounding really feel like from a narcissist perspective is fascinating. Essentially, when a narcissist is wounded like this, in order to force them to do something to heal this wound, they feel fury, also known as narcissistic rage, which is like a very intense anger. This fury prompts the narcissist to jump into action. Let's see how Kat reacts to the situation.
Alright, so I wanted to bring something up. Yes? Bring that right now. Well, yeah. Adrienne, what are you looking for? So supposedly you know Amy, and you decided to share with the girls that Amy had wisdom teeth out one day. We were working on a boat. There was somebody that she liked, and I gave them a blowjob. Did you tell them that?
Oh, no. I told them that was a rumor that I heard.
Okay, that's not very nice of you to say behind my back.
What I was doing was relaying a story that I heard when I found out the two of you guys were on a boat together.
You're nice to my face, and then you're saying things about me behind my back. What's wrong with you?
Of course, Kat's right. It isn't nice for Adrienne to gossip behind her back like that. But wasn't Kat also just smearing Adrienne to the charter guests a few minutes ago and trying to prevent her from coming back onto the boat? This shows hypocrisy, an element of the narcissistic dynamic. Now Kat manipulates using an insult and provocation, saying, "What's wrong with you?" Of course, airing this all in front of the other charter guests is also a boundary transgression. One of the problems here is that Adrienne is also a narcissist, which is why the two of them clashed so much in the previous season. Now we're treated to a confrontation between two narcissists, both threatening each other's control and trying to manipulate the other. Look at the haughty smirk on Adrienne's face when admitting that she relayed the rumour.
What's wrong with you?
Is it true?
I don't know if it's true. Maybe I was blackout drunk and that did happen.
Adrienne asks Kat, "Is it true?" This threatens Kat's control and risks pinning her with accountability, something a narcissist must avoid at all costs. Usually a narcissist will flat out deny something they're accused of, unless they perceive that a denial isn't going to work. Kat's smart enough to realise that a denial probably won't fly in this situation. There's this rumour, which presumably Amy, an honest and well-liked person, will back up, and the fact that everyone on the boat has clearly already seen that something happened to sour the relationship between Kat and Amy. Instead, Kat moves on to the next line of narcissistic defence, a different manipulation. In this case, she tries to obfuscate the truth with feigned ignorance. She doesn't know what happened. She also blame shifts towards alcohol. This is a method narcissists often use to avoid accountability. "You can't blame me, I was drunk." In Kat's case, she drinks, causes problems, blames the alcohol, and then goes on to drink again the very next night. Lack of accountability.
I don't know if it's true. Maybe I was blackout drunk and that did happen. But you know what? If she liked somebody, it's free game.
If Amy liked somebody, it's free game. Lack of empathy for Amy, lack of accountability for her own actions, no boundaries, sense of entitlement.
It's free game.
That's what they do.
Adrienne, just stop.
Being honest?
Do yourself a favor and just stop.
We see Adrienne asserting control by turning to the primary charter guest and mocking Kat, saying, "That's nothing new," presumably referring to Kat's out-of-control drinking. Kat tries to assert control very directly, simply ordering Adrienne to stop. Adrienne mocks again. Being honest? Then we're treated to the famous narcissist glare, as Kat again orders Adrienne to just stop. You can really feel an implicit threat behind this, and get a glimpse of the boiling pit of fury that's happening just below the surface with Kat.
I apologize.
Oh, I said that, by the way. Okay, you know what? If I hit someone in the face 6 times and then said I'm sorry, does it make it okay?
We see Adrienne trying to manipulate Kat. She says, "I apologise," despite having a haughty smirk on her face and clearly not being sorry at all. This is of course a common manipulation, false contrition, as well as a provocation by her smirking. The primary charter guest seeks to interject and keep the peace, but Kat steams in and interrupts her, boundary transgression. We see Kat's ignited fury on display, an element of the narcissistic dynamic. She raises her voice and uses exaggerated hand movements. She asserts control over Adrienne by rejecting the apology and comparing the situation to hitting somebody in the face 6 times. Melodrama, manipulation. Watching two narcissists argue is like watching a game of tennis, with each asserting control and manipulating the other in turn. It generally keeps going until one or the other flounces off and asserts control through withdrawal.
Does it make it okay?
Seriously, Kat? I don't ever remember you apologizing to me.
Adrienne is deflecting and bringing up the past to assert control over Kat. Manipulations. Nothing is ever dead and buried with the narcissist. They bring up past events again and again and again to manipulate in the moment.
I just think that was rude.
I apologize for offending your delicate sensibilities, Kat.
More provocation and insult mixed with a false contrition from Adrienne.
I mean, I'm just surprised that you guys are working together.
I'm not surprised at the level of class you're bringing to the table.
Kat responds with an insult and provocation. She displays haughtiness. She also shows blindness and hypocrisy. She's not exactly being very classy right now.
Seriously? Cool, Kat.
Adrienne essentially dismisses Kat and asserts control using withdrawal. She says, "Cool, Kat," as if to say, "Whatever, I'm done with you," Of course, this is haughty behaviour. Now Kat has stormed off to cry in the bathroom, and the primary charter guest comes over to try and comfort her.
Please don't make it any worse. Seriously. I don't really want to talk. I just needed to a minute to be by myself.
It really was a mean thing to do. I told her that as soon as she said, "Why are you saying this?" She said,
Just don't talk about it. Let me
"All
just
right,
figure
can
it
I
out.
pee? Is that okay?"
Of course, being talked about behind your back would be a horrible experience for anyone. However, this beach trip has descended into the Kat show. Since touching down on the beach, Kat has bitched about Adrian to the guests, started a fight in front of them, and now she's stormed off to cry in the bathroom, and then snapped at the primary charter guest. This shows elements of the narcissistic dynamic, self-absorption and drama creation.
Is there anything I can do or say or?
Yeah, you could not have her come on board.
Telling the primary charter guest not to bring Adrienne back onto the boat is a boundary transgression. Now one of the deckhands has come to pick them up from the beach, and Kat takes the opportunity to smear Amy.
But yeah, Amy's my least favorite person at the moment.
Why? What'd she do to you?
Supposedly, like 4 years ago, Amy had her wisdom teeth out. Somebody she liked, I give, what would you say, a sexual favor to.
Because Kat is a narcissist, she's unable to take accountability for her own actions. She needs to blame others for the situation she finds herself in. Her narcissism arrives on the person to blame being Amy, who now becomes painted black. In order to assert control indirectly over Amy, Kat smears her to their colleague, Eddie. Kat starts off by manipulating him in trying to minimize what her actions were. Her voice is dripping with haughtiness and dismissiveness when she emphasizes things like, 4 years ago, somebody she liked. What would you say? A sexual favor to?
A sexual favor to.
Oh,
You want me to tell you?
no.
The whole world knows about it. And Amy hates me for that, and she never told me. And to be honest with you, I didn't even know I did this.
Kat shows melodrama, an element of the narcissistic dynamic. The whole world knows about it, and Amy hates me for that. Exaggerations. There are also pity plays to manipulate Eddie into feeling sorry for her. Then she immediately moves on to feigned ignorance to deny accountability. To be honest with you, I didn't even know I did this. This stretches all credibility. Why have things been so awkward between Kat and Amy if she had no idea that anything happened? When she's back on the boat, Kat starts talking to her and Amy's boss.
I know I'm not supposed to talk about anything. I'm not going to talk about one specific thing until after charter, but I am going to tell you.
Yeah.
Not here. Maybe down in the room. But I will tell you what's going on in my mind.
Kat, you okay?
No.
So Kat acknowledges that she's not supposed to bring up drama to her boss, but then goes on to do so anyway. Boundary transgression, sense of entitlement, and lack of accountability. Notice how she does this in a very showy way, telling her boss that she wants to talk downstairs, and then marching through the boat with her. Yachts are small places. At least both the chef and Amy notice this. It's done to triangulate Amy with her boss, basically saying, look, I'm talking to the boss and you're not allowed to know what it's about. It's using secrecy and social exclusion to gain control over Amy.
You're not going to believe this.
Tell me.
So, Adrian just told everybody Amy really needs to tell everybody to the point where some person on an island that I run into knows that story. I think Amy has some issues.
Again, Kat smears Amy to assert control over her. She says, Amy really needs to tell everybody, and I think Amy has some issues. Kat has no way of knowing whether Amy told other people about the event. Amy certainly remained tight-lipped about it for the entire season so far, and it's pretty juicy gossip. Any of the other crew members on the boat where the event happened could have talked about it. Kat's demonstrating the famous victim mentality that all narcissists have. Instead of taking accountability for her actions, she blames others for talking about them.
I want nothing to do with her.
This is going to be great.
I'm not going to be rude.
Kat wants to assert control over Amy by essentially giving her a silent treatment, which would be an assertion of control through withdrawal, a common tactic of mid-range narcissists. She's trying to dictate to her boss how she's going to do this. I want nothing to do with her. Boundary transgression, sense of entitlement.
Hey, girls, can we just talk maybe about what this rumor is that you're like talking about?
No, we can't. Please leave us alone. Thank you.
This was ridiculous.
Amy tries to enter and talk through the situation, but Kat slams the door on her in order to assert control through withdrawal. This also allows Kat to continue her manipulations of triangulation and social exclusion. You may notice that narcissists often act like bratty 5-year-old school children. They thrive in drama because it allows them to assert control and draw fuel. When dealing with a narcissist, you may find yourself asking, why am I having to deal with this? I'm an adult. Kat displays breathtaking hypocrisy as well, an element of the narcissistic dynamic. She's complaining about people talking behind her back, while talking about Amy behind her back. Her narcissism blinds her to her hypocrisy. To her credit, the boss shuts down any complaining. However, a short while later, Kat goes on to smear Amy again, this time to the chef.
You sure, Amy, that you don't need help giving somebody a blowjob? Apparently I'm better at it than you. What?
Whatever.
That's so amazing, Ben, right? You do something 4 years ago, and people are still talking about it to this day? Man, that's impressive. It must have been really good, right?
Okay, Kat.
Thanks for the support, love.
How am I going to support you when you're talking about shit like that?
So Kat's smearing Amy yet again, this time casting aspersions on her sexual prowess. The aim of smearing is to get others to agree and sympathize with her, so that Kat can feel like she has control over Amy. When the chef doesn't seem interested, Kat snipes, "Thanks for the support, love," mocking his British accent. Provocation. She's annoyed because he didn't provide her with the control she was seeking, requiring her to assert control over the chef. So now Kat has brought this up to a deckhand who wasn't interested and didn't want to hear the specifics. She brought it up to her boss who wasn't interested and shut it down. Then she brought it up to the chef who didn't want to hear about it. Nobody is at all interested in her drama. Nobody else actually cares. She's the one making a big deal about it. In fact, none of the crew would actually know about the situation if she hadn't brought it up. This demonstrates an interesting phenomenon that occurs with unaware narcissists like Kat, what H.G. Tudor calls collateral consequences. Narcissists assert control in the moment. However, in doing so, they actually create larger problems for themselves in the long run. In this case, Kat felt like she had control over Amy in the moment when she was smearing her, but now her entire crew knows about her actions. Now, Amy has finally had enough and is confiding in her colleague about the way Kat has treated her.
Oh, man. I'm in the Kat and Kate tornado.
Kat, what's going on with them?
Kat and Kate are in the room, and they're talking about me, and I could hear them. That sucks.
That sucks.
Wait, what? Like negatively?
Nasty, wet, turd shit with flies on it. I kind of liked this boy, and Kathleen came over, hung out on the boat with us, got drunk in her cat style, took him down, had her way with him, and came up. Then I knew I didn't want to get with that boy, and I kind of knew more about Kat. So it was like, came into this with an open thing, and like...
And Kat's changed a lot since then, I think. I mean, she's still a very aggressive and mean person at times. Catty.
I have a small issue.
What's up?
Can you think of a good scotch? Because I have to serve them scotch neat.
Do we got any Johnny Walker? We got any Blue?
You may have drank it all. I'll have to keep looking.
Amy's at it again, and she apparently just can't stop talking about it. I don't know why she doesn't just shut the up.
Her comment of "Amy's at it again" shows an exaggeration and revision of history. Kat is making it sound like Amy just can't keep her mouth shut about this. Back in reality, Kat has gone round smearing Amy to the crew, socially excluding her, and has slammed a door in her face. Amy's just responding to this and trying to set the record straight. This also shows a complete lack of emotional empathy for hurting Amy and excluding her. Kat's lack of awareness and hypocrisy is a great demonstration of the hypocrisy of narcissists. She's talking about Amy like she's a blabbermouth, while having bitched to 3 people about Amy. Notice how another crew member describes Kat as aggressive, mean, and catty at times. Adjectives like these are often used to describe narcissists by people who aren't familiar with the narcissistic dynamic. Now, Kat, who shares a cabin with Amy, wakes Amy up in the middle of the night.
Really? What? I'm sorry. What do you want me to do? What the f***'s going on around here? It's 3 fucking... I know, but what do you want me to do? Have a little consideration.
Sleep is a precious commodity for yacht workers. Everybody has long hours while on charter. Turning the lights on and clanging around at 3 a.m. shows a lack of empathy, as well as a boundary transgression and a sense of entitlement. Narcissists often wake their victims up as a form of manipulation. Because Amy's currently painted black and being devalued, her sleeping will wound Kat. Amy is viewed as the enemy by Kat, so her contentedly sleeping and doing something for herself threatens Kat's control. Plus, Kat is not drawing fuel from Amy. Remember, lack of control plus lack of fuel equals wounding. Kat therefore asserts control by waking Amy up. She then manipulates with feigned ignorance and false contrition. What? I'm sorry. She knows exactly what she's doing, and she certainly isn't sorry. She says, "What do you want me to do?" This shows a lack of accountability, basically saying, well, I can't do anything else. And also provocation, because it's very obvious what she should do. Shut the hell up. When Amy points out it's 3 a.m., Kat just repeats, "What do you want me to do?" again. More provocation. Her narcissism is trying to wind Amy up into getting angry so it can draw fuel from Amy getting angry. The next morning, Amy approaches the situation in an adult manner and tries to bring it up in order to clear the air.
Now that the elephant in the room has been brought out, if we can talk about it and get past it and get back to the job, that's what's going to make us greater people. It's okay if miscommunications happen, because they're going to happen. Let's talk about some of these things. Like, we're grown women here. Like, it should be talked about.
I really don't know what to think. It's like I literally just got out of bed. My mind's not functioning, and I wouldn't let it get too much.
Kat asserts control by showing dismissiveness and haughtiness in the face of this olive branch being held out. Remember, her narcissism makes her think that she's the victim in all this. She then blame shifts her unwillingness to compromise on just having woken up.
I'm really sorry, Amy, that I've hurt your feelings, but I don't give a
Lack of empathy. Later, Amy tries to clear the air again. As you've probably worked out by now, Amy is not a narcissist, and as such she doesn't thrive in drama and doesn't like conflict. But as always, when a narcissist comes into contact with a non-narcissist, we get manipulation. Let's see how this goes.
Can we talk about what happened with Adrian, or you want to wait till
Yeah, we can talk about it. Do you want to talk about it now?
For the tension just to be there and no one to talk about it, that's not how I'd like to operate.
The sit-down conversation starts, and look at Kat's facial expression. I would describe that as a hard stare. It's quite aggressive. Head forwards, eyes fixed, jaw clenched, frowning. Her hatred for Amy is shining through. This also serves as a manipulation towards Amy in order to gain control and fuel from her. Intimidation.
I considered you really close, and then it was one of those things that was like, I liked this guy, and then y'all went downstairs. I was just kind of surprised by it, because I felt like we were really close.
It was a childish thing to do.
It's quite obvious that the event happened as Amy is saying it did. Kat isn't using her feigned ignorance manipulation which she used on others, because denying it would be useless when talking to Amy. So suddenly, not knowing what happened has been dropped, which reveals it as the lie and manipulation it was. It was a childish thing to do is false contrition, a manipulation. We already know that Kat thinks of the guy as free game and doesn't give an F about hurting Amy's feelings. In addition, it's sort of a non-apology. It was a childish thing to do is not actually acknowledging the pain she's caused and expressing genuine contrition. Lack of accountability. Narcissists fundamentally cannot be sorry. They don't have emotional empathy and they lack accountability. Of course, mid-range narcissists have cognitive empathy, so they know on an intellectual level that somebody has been hurt by their actions. However, they don't feel bad for that person and cannot accept their own wrongdoing like a non-narcissist would. They may understand that their actions are perceived to be bad by others, but they will believe that their actions were justified. This is why you can get some mid-range narcissists spouting over-the-top apologies. I'm so incredibly sorry. I wake up hating myself every day for what I did to you. I understand if you never want to see me again. Could you ever forgive me? Of course, this is just a manipulation designed to get the victim under control and flowing with fuel. They'll go on to repeat the action or at least do similar things again.
It was a childish thing to do.
At one point, I was like, you know what, I should probably talk to her about this and explain how that really hurt me. But what would be the point of that? Let's leave the past in the past and let's move forward.
All right, well, you're saying you wanted to leave the past in the past. This is something that occurred years ago. And if it was years ago, I don't understand why it's coming up now. And Adrian said the same story to all those girls. You were telling people this story and relating that story to me and my character. It was like you were like trying to like bring me down or something. It was so insulting.
Amy is explaining how Kat's actions hurt her. Instead of acknowledging this or apologizing, Kat launches into an attack. This is manipulative, showing a deflection and invalidation of Amy's feelings. It demonstrates a lack of empathy and a lack of accountability. Having not shown any contrition or sympathy for how her actions affected Amy, she now wants acknowledgement of Amy being in the wrong for telling other people the story. Through Kat's narcissistic perspective, she's done nothing wrong and Amy has betrayed her. This shows a victim mentality, an element of the narcissistic dynamic. When she says it was like Amy was trying to bring her down or something, this shows paranoia. Narcissists have an underlying belief that everyone's out to get them and screw them over. It also shows grandiosity. To think that you're a target people want to bring down shows perceived importance. And it's a manipulation known as projection, where a narcissist accuses the victim of doing what they themselves are actually doing. She's complaining about telling stories that relate to somebody's character badly. Let me think, who's been doing this recently? Kat herself. So far she's painted Amy as somebody who bears a grudge for years and spreads rumours, somebody who hates her, and somebody who has issues. She's also made fun of Amy's sexual prowess. Kat's also showing contradictory behaviour. If she has a problem with the story being related to her and her character, then surely she must be able to see that she did something wrong, and should apologise to Amy. But a narcissist can have it both ways in their mind without seeing an issue. The narcissism blinds her to the contradiction. It doesn't make sense when using conventional logic, but don't bother trying to convince a narcissist of this. They aren't capable of seeing it. Just learn to recognise narc logic when you hear it. Kat also manipulates with an accusation. You were telling people this story and relating that story to me and my character. It was like you were trying to bring me down or something. It was so insulting. This also shows manipulations of pity play and guilting.
Had I known that that would have been communicated to you, I wouldn't have talked to anybody about anything.
Right.
And so I hate that happened for you. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I really appreciate you apologizing because I was so hurt.
Amy apologizes. It seems like she did talk to other people at some point about the event, which is totally understandable after her supposed friend doing something like that to her. However, it's unlikely that she's still repeatedly talking about it like Kat is making out. Kat then says, "I really appreciate you apologizing because I was so hurt." We then see Amy's reaction. She's probably thinking, well, why can't you apologize to me then? I was hurt too. But Kat can't see it. She is the hard done to victim in her own mind. Lack of empathy, blindness to reality.
All right, well, give me a hug.
Yes. I realize as I'm sitting there, I'm the one doing a lot of the apologizing, and I'm thinking, well, wait a second, like, this was a really hurtful situation. Hello, is there a soul in there? Like, what, like, do you care about us? Thanks, Kat.
Thanks, Aim.
So as always, the narcissist ends up asserting control. Kat receives an apology and Amy is back under control. Of course, asserting control over Amy has created future issues for Kat. The whole crew and any viewers of the TV show can now see how unreasonable she is. However, her narcissism is only concerned with asserting control in the moment. Any future threats to control will be dealt with when they occur. Let's summarize the narcissistic red flags we've seen in Kat. Kat has a sense of entitlement. She didn't think she should have to serve Adrian because they had personal issues. She thought it was free game to make a move on a man her ill friend invited over for romantic reasons. She created drama on the beach in front of her clients. She then brought up drama when she wasn't meant to at work. She dictated to her boss how she was going to ignore Amy. She turned the lights on and clanged around at 3 a.m. Kat doesn't respect boundaries. She interrogated the primary charter guest and badmouthed her friend, then later interrupted her, then snapped at her, then tried to manipulate her into not bringing her friend back on the boat. She started drama in front of the charter guests. She tried to get her co-workers involved in drama and overshared sexual details. She tried to dictate to her boss how she would work. Kat shows so many elements of the narcissistic dynamic. She shows obvious reactions to threats to her control, such as seeing Adrienne on the beach. She carries out smearing, having smeared Adrienne and then Amy 3 times. She shows hypersexualized behavior. She's a hypocrite. She complained about Adrienne talking behind her back when she was doing the same thing. She complained about Amy talking behind her back when she was doing the same thing and much worse. She accused Adrienne of not displaying class, while starting a huge row in front of guests she was supposed to be looking after. She wanted an apology, but wouldn't give one herself. She complained when a story was making her look bad, while failing to see anything wrong with her actions in the story. She showed blindness to reality. She showed ignited fury. She showed self-absorption and attention-seeking behavior. She showed a victim mentality. She showed an assertion of control through withdrawal. She demonstrated the collateral consequences of narcissism, complaining about the rumor, but in so doing actually telling everyone on the boat about it when they wouldn't otherwise have found out about it. She showed black and white thinking in immediately swinging to despising Amy. She showed paranoia in thinking Amy was trying to bring her down by talking about her, something that would have been very out of the ordinary for Amy. Kat shows grandiosity and haughtiness. She was haughty in several conversations, when talking to the primary charter guest, when scolding Adrienne for not having class, when dismissing Amy's attempt to hold out an olive branch. She showed grandiosity in thinking Amy was trying to bring her down. Kat has a complete lack of accountability. She showed no accountability for hurting Amy. At first she pretended she didn't know what happened and blamed it on alcohol. Then she didn't accept wrongdoing and give Amy a proper apology. She's a disloyal friend, showing her lack of accountability towards her friendship with Amy. She wasn't accountable for the rules of her job, starting drama with charter guests, bringing up drama with her boss, and saying she's going to ignore her co-worker. She can't even take accountability for waking Amy up at 3 a.m. on purpose, saying, "What do you want me to do?" Kat is extremely manipulative. She uses pity plays, guilting, insult, provocation, feigned ignorance, blame shifting, interruption, melodrama, minimization, exaggeration, triangulation, secrecy, social exclusion, present silent treatment, revision of history, false contrition, dismissiveness, intimidation, lie, deflection, invalidation, accusation, and projection. Finally, Kat has displayed a lack of empathy. She didn't care that her actions hurt Amy, actually saying she didn't give an F that she hurt Amy's feelings. She didn't care about socially excluding Amy and slamming the door in her face. She didn't care about waking Amy up at 3 a.m. on purpose. She didn't care about smearing Adrian. Finally, she didn't care about making the rest of the crew uncomfortable by smearing Amy and oversharing sexual details with them. This concludes the analysis. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll subscribe for more analysis on narcissists.